Hello, welcome to True and Juicy. And our juicy topic for today is, are there any real people left? So here I am, Jennifer Natasia with Sacred Wealth Co. and Sacred Her. And we have my dear sister.
Blessings, everybody. This is your girl, Dr. Lori Pitts with Still Whole Wellness. What it do? So, sis, are there any real people left?
I mean, of course there is. But, we were just talking about how on even like listening to music, how there's just you don't know if they're real, and I was just sharing one of my favorite AI artists, and I quote the AI because it's just what's that word? The avatar, kind of like they're like an avatar for whoever is
hmm
the actual
So, is
singer.
that the same as AI? You can kind of educate me. Are we considering that AI?
Avatars, yeah, yeah, it's not a real person.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like our avatars, that kind of look like us, that not us, you
hmm
know. Well, there's one specifically who I like, and I was like doing a little bit of digging because I want to know like where are these artists from or whatever. And I learned that, oh wow, this is an AI, but who created this artist, the music is real. That's the music they created, whether they use AI for the music background, but the words, the energy of it is from that person.
hmm
But the person who sings it, the photo that we see, has more followers than the actual person who wrote the songs.
Whoa.
And I was like kind of blown away by that, like where it's like,
Whoa.
yeah, are there any real people out there left?
Okay, so I think this is like, a
Yeah,
good conversation
yeah.
because, it makes me, I think it's making everybody wonder, like,
Mhm.
what's to come in the future?
Yeah.
What 5, 10, 15 years from now, like, what's going to be real? If we know it's only going to improve, how will we know that it's real?
You know what? I think really we have to remember that when it comes to AI, and this is something in the education space that has been questioned for a while now,
hmm
and they won't even let our children use AI. And I'm like, why not? Because the rich schools are, they're teaching and educating their students on how to use it. And here's the thing with AI, you can't just say, it's not like it's going to do something that you don't tell it to do. You have to tell it what it is you want to
Yeah,
do. Whether it comes out with what you're looking for, that's where the changes and modification that you need to do on your end.
right.
However, I think the problem also is people look at it as the answer to everything. And we got to understand this is just a tool that's able to take all the information that's out there and bring it to us real quick. Does it mean that it's facts? No, because some people put bullshit out there. So it's going to still catch the bullshit.
Very true.
And so I think that's the biggest awareness. Like, I was talking to the love of my life here, and he's
hmm
always like in the news and all that. And he was telling me how this guy killed his family. What is it? His mother and father, right? The one who like was on AI, they were on AI and like using it as their therapist.
hmm
And then it told them, well, just well, I don't know exactly what it says, but I guess insinuated that he should hurt his family.
Wow.
And that's what he did,
Wow.
and
I
so
heard a similar story where the person ended up unaliving themselves.
I know what.
They unalived themselves.
Oh, and I like how you word that.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess that's the way that we have to say it now. Like, when you're putting things like on YouTube and Instagram and
oh,
all these, yeah, you can't use the S word, is what I'm understanding.
oh, unalive themselves.
hmm
Okay, I don't understand. See, like all these like little things that, oh, don't say this, don't do this. I think we as individuals have to educate ourselves and has to, how many of us does that anyways? I guess that's real people, real things, right?
Yeah. Well, and
Oh,
to go
she's,
back to what you were saying about AI, I think you're
yeah,
making a really valid point there because I kind of look at it as like a complex equation, where you still have to know what to put where and
yeah,
when to put it in order to get the right outcome. So you still have
right.
to have some level of intellect and
Hmm.
intelligence to be able to program, the system, the platform well enough to be able to get the accurate answer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you can say, can you write me a letter to the governor or something? And if you don't read it over, it may be going off subject about who knows what,
Hmm.
and so it's very important that you proofread. It's very important that you check, you know, you follow up with research and information that are actual facts and not just say, okay, it's AI, it's going to give me everything and everything's a fact, when really it doesn't necessarily. And the thing with it too is it learns your personality. So
Yes.
it may start feeding you the information you do want to hear, but really is that facts? And
Now
is
it's
that
funny
the
you should say that. Okay. Because the love of my life, she sent me a video the other day, and I can't remember what platform it was from. I don't know if it was from Facebook or Threads or what it was, but the young lady, she was explaining how to program like a chat GPT on how to not do just that, what you just said, of just responding, in the affirmative to me, but challenge my thoughts, challenge my perspectives, make me
Mhm,
prove my points to you kind of thing, in order to get the best output, from the platform.
mhm,
So I agree. I think if people are not doing more things like that and having their own set of ethics around it, if they're not doing the proofreading, if they're not doing the fact checking and things like that, then yeah, you're going to, especially if you're putting information out there for, mass media, like you're really, really going to be misleading some people and
mhm.
causing some harm. And I don't want to cause harm. So I've had this conversation with my almost 23-year-old who is completely against AI. In fact, she was sharing something with me about the amount of energy, I guess, that AI is
Yeah,
is pulling and how that is,
yeah.
really working to our detriment. And that
Mhm.
was an aspect of it that I was not even aware of. What do you know about that aspect of it?
Yeah, that's been something that's been coming up because what's happening is that for these, oh, excuse me for not having the verbiage and not being eloquent with speaking with this
Oh,
because it's all like technology stuff, but
yeah, well, we
I guess
right there
these
together.
big
So.
transformer things, right? What
Hmm.
that that they use to energize this AI uses a lot of water. And what is
Oh, it's
happening,
water. Okay.
it's using water and then it's like big, like huge masses of land to create this. And so
Hmm.
and it exudes like bright light. So like if you go to like Arizona, like
Oh.
Sedona, they have
Hmm.
this whole law with the bright lights and stuff. So you don't see the McDonald's sign that's yellow. You see it like blue, I want to say, because it's so bright because it causes
Really?
pollution. Yeah. And so this what these I don't even know if you call it like businesses or these big, and now I'm like, I need to Google this because I want, I want to know the name of this and I can't think of it. I'm like, let me look it up real quick.
Is it
Um,
like some kind of a motherboard of some sort?
yeah,
Like,
like a motherboard, like this huge, giant, several, like, I don't know how many thousands of pieces, not even pieces because they're gigantic,
hmm,
that because it needs a lot of energy
right.
to handle these AIs and it's taken over cities and towns and it's requiring more and more and more and using up so much water
Mm.
just to create the energy for it. And so this is causing a lot of issues and causing a lot of pollution. So
So it
it's
makes me wonder, like,
yeah,
the developers, of these different platforms, like what was the foresight and the thought process behind, creating and developing these platforms? Like, did they think about this kinds of stuff? Because I mean, now I had no idea that it was water. Like, I already know that, like, energy, obviously,
yeah.
electrical energy is definitely something that, is expensive. We need it. But I had no idea that it was water that was actually
Well, it needs it to
powering
cool
these.
because it gets so hot.
Ah, okay, duh, Lori. Okay,
And then it
yeah.
evaporates. No, no, it's not like duh. How many of us knows this? And so, oh my gosh, this is starting to bring me to a whole nother subject. We're gonna just go on and on. It is,
Yeah, just go. Just go.
because
Just go.
this was something like we were talking, me and my the love of my life, we were talking about, hydraulic energy,
Okay.
electricity,
Hmm.
and there's another one. However, like these are things where, you're like, gosh, electricity is so expensive. Back in the day, it was free because they had these like, hydraulic things where it's designed and everything was done by the water. The water was creating this energy, so everyone was able to have free energy. And now look what they do, they charge it, right?
Hmm.
And so this is like with the water, and this is how like important water is to us because we need it to live. We need it,
Yeah.
we're 70% water and all that. But there's so many things out there that requires energy, right?
Yeah.
But the energy could be free, but because I feel like now we're going into like this whole like conspiracy stuff, or I'm ready to go into it, where it's like,
And I don't know if all of it is so much conspiracy.
yeah,
Just saying.
just saying.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
because they were, they were creating, cars without gas, and the person
Hmm.
who was really close to um creating that was murdered.
Yeah.
And there's so many things out there. And so with this AI, I'm wondering, is there a more efficient way to, create the energy for for, AI to generate and work? But
I'm
it's like
I'm
a huge, huge motherboard. We think of our computers and, when it heats up, what cools it down? Water, although we don't want to do that to our
water. But I mean, and
device.
I guess that's what I would say to those who disagree with it, with
Mm,
the utilization of it,
yeah.
is, yeah, there's just got to be some level of responsibility around it. But
Hmm.
if it's here, and it is, to carry us forward as a human race, and to help us to produce things in massive ways, to be a blessing to the collective, if it's used with some level of responsibility and some ethics behind it, it makes me wonder, like, is it really that bad? It's just
Right,
I'm just an observer, so I don't even know if I have an answer to that. But it's just a
right.
question that I think is worth exploring and asking for those who don't agree with it.
Yeah, and I feel like there's other things too, like here we are talking about AI, but also, like how we're utilizing our resources. Why not find another solution, um, that's more helpful to our environment, like using hemp, and hemp, we, it does so many wonders, and it can replace the wood, the forest in cutting
Hmm.
papers. We can use hemp for paper.
Hmm.
You could use hemp to make clothes, so there's
Hmm.
different utilizations that we can use. There's other options,
Yeah.
you know, and not just, oh, let's cut down all our trees because we need our trees for our oxygen. And so I'm curious, like you, like what's the answer to this? Like, is there a way to
Sorry, I was like hearing something.
you
Yeah, I guess it's water. Was like, is something
is
like
it
burning or something? I think it's water. Sorry.
no, is it raining there?
Maybe it's rain. It could be rain. It could be rain.
We got all distracted. So
It could be
yeah,
rain.
so back to the AI, right? No, and it just makes you wonder, like, are there any real people left? And for me, it's like, of course there is, but I think there's an opportunity for people to better themselves, by, there's people getting their voices heard even more.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, for what cost,
Yeah.
you
Getting
know?
their messages out there. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the piece of it that I guess is at least exciting for me, is because I'm
Mhm.
thinking about that, is those of us who, without things just like Google, because to me AI, like I look at a chat GPT and it's nothing but Google on steroids, you know and so it's like, are you going to stop Googling, things too? But for those
Mhm.
who maybe are utilizing it for purposes like that, to be able to perfect something, and maybe would not otherwise have been able to get their messaging out there and have these tools and things like that. you know Again, it's all about responsibility as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned, and ethics. And so I
Mhm.
would imagine that at some point we're probably going to have, if not already, I don't really, operate in that whole space and realm, in terms of like, the legalization of things. But I'm sure that there are going to be, some laws and things like that that are going to be coming down in terms of like what you can't, more strict laws, in terms of what you can and cannot do with AI. You know,
Mhm.
my Here's where I want to go. When we talk about, are there any real people out there? What do you think that AI is going to do in terms of the authenticity of people? Because I mean, obviously, there's the difference between, is it a real person or is it AI? But when it comes to the human person, how authentic do you think we will be able to be as a society now that AI is part of our world?
That's a really interesting question, because I'm like kind of smirking in my head, and I'm like, well, it's just going to make you more of who you want to be. So, it can definitely help, but if, you're not the brightest tool in the shed, you're going to just believe everything that's coming and handed to you. But then
Yeah.
also, it can, if a person know how to use it right, it can make them sound a lot brighter and skilled than they
Mm-hmm.
truly are. So when they're ready to perform, they may not know anything. But then also, like, it's like it can go either way.
Yeah.
Like, this can bring out so much more opportunities for people. Like, there could be a lot of blessings in it, but
That's a huge but, isn't it?
but but
It's a huge but.
yeah. Because, it's still, I think it's still new, but still, it's like, some of this stuff been out there for a while, and we're just able to get access to it.
Yeah.
Somebody had it already and was utilizing it to perfect it, and then finally was able to share it with the rest of us.
Big
So this
facts.
isn't,
Big,
and like,
huge,
it's with so
ginormous
many
facts.
things, you
Yeah.
know,
Did you
yeah.
ever watch the show Suits?
Nope.
No, that was like one of my favorite shows back in the day. I want to say it
Mm,
came out. It's so, you know what it is though, right? With Meghan Markle. I think it was like
I
her
don't
acting
remember.
debut, maybe even. I don't know.
I
So
may have to look it up.
an excellent show. I
Mhm.
love, anything that has to do with like crime drama or anything to do with just like the legal system. I like watching that kind of stuff, even though I don't pay attention to it too much in reality. Anyway, the premise of the show is about a guy, his name is Mike Ross, who he turns out to be not at all an attorney. He just had a photographic memory. And so he was able to like take the bar for several people and pass it. And he ends up stumbling into this situation where he is able to act like a lawyer, right? All right. So fast forward a couple seasons. I've been recently rewatching the show. So that's the reason why I bring it
Okay.
up, right? So literally an episode that I was just watching this morning as I'm like doing back office stuff or whatever, there is a piece of the episode. It's probably like maybe season 4 or 5 or something like that. And there's a character in there, her name's Donna, and she's like the legal secretary for the firm. And she always has like all these, witty catchphrases and this and that. The tech specialist in the firm, forget his name, he actually created an AI version of Donna, of the legal secretary, where this thing you
Mhm.
could talk to it and it would spit out like a very Donna like response, right?
Mhm.
So to your point, this show was like from 2016. So as I'm like listening to, because I'm working, I'm not really watching, I'm working, I'm listening, and I'm like, it caught my attention. I like, and I stopped for a second. I'm like, when did this episode air? This was like from 2016. But it
Yeah.
was very very AI, and they're talking in the show, and he's basically telling Donna that the tech guy, he's saying that he's going to create it to where it's taps more into her emotion, and where it's going to
Mm.
think like her and all this kind of stuff. And I'm listening, I'm like, this is wild how art is mimicking life, or life is mimicking art. What's first, the chicken or the egg, right? But it was very much what we are experiencing right now when we talk about AI, of how it's being programmed to think like you and to respond like you. It was just, when I realized that it was an episode from 2016, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
You know, I mean, if we watch a lot of our like movies in the 80s and 90s, we can see like how things can are coming into fruition. I mean, so, like the Jetsons, we still don't have those cars that fly,
Yeah.
Although then that would just be a whole hot mess because look at the roads now, especially here in Cali, right? So,
Yeah. And having your wristwatch be your telephone, right? Like, I'm wearing an Apple Watch right now. Exactly. Like, this is
yeah.
stuff that, like, we never thought we would ever really see in our reality and during our lifetime, and yet it's very much here. And it's, when you think about it, it can be kind of creepy to think that now that episode was created in 2016. This is 2026, right?
Hmm.
What else is out there?
Yeah.
What else are
Well,
they
you,
developing that we don't know about?
Well, they have there's so many things because there's the robots or AI, where they even have therapists as a robot. Like I remember
That's
going
where
to
I
this
want to go.
event. Yeah, there's this event that I went to and the guy was like he was a veteran and he was like promoting this AI robot. And it was like stood this big, it's like, like a couple feet,
Mm-hmm.
and you can talk to it and it's like your emotional support, you know?
So
And
wild.
but it's like how many people use ChatGPT as its therapist,
Exactly.
and so
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like it's talking back and forth to you and it remembers, it becomes a better listener than
Mm-hmm.
people, because it just sits there and it just takes in, but then um does it build its own heart? Like there's like movies, I forget which movies, forgive me with all these names, but
You're probably referring to the one, the most iconic one,
they
is I, Robot, with Will Smith.
I don't remember him being in that movie, but it was like oh, there was okay,
Was
I be
it
watching
was it
probably
I,
some
Robot? Now
creepy
you got me
shit.
second guessing. Was
No,
that the
it so
title?
this one was like okay, they got a nanny or something, and the nanny was an AI robot that looks like practically just human, and falls in
Mm-hmm.
love with the guy and started doing these weird things to the wife. Is it AI? Is it that
No,
movie?
no, it wasn't AI
Okay.
Robot. But I know what movie you're talking about, though. Yeah,
Okay, and that was like that shit is creepy because
it
like,
was creepy.
it heals really fast or it could repair
Mm-hmm.
itself, and it's like, can it really do that? Like can it really like recreate itself like that?
Mm-hmm.
Or like once it's jacked up like a human, you know what I mean? It's like
What we need to
so
do is we need to go back and watch some of these Simpson episodes because from what I understand, they
Simpsons be
predicted.
like foretelling stuff,
Yeah,
like I go, I never really watch like
I wasn't allowed to watch it. I wasn't allowed to watch it as
I
a
know
kid. Yeah.
who created it? I mean, I mean it's been I know since I was in elementary that one's been it's been on
Hmm.
and I still don't know who writes it, but you know, there's a lot of things.
From what I can
Yeah.
gather, yeah,
Yep.
there's few of, including our current sitting president. It predicted that. So
Yeah.
I feel like the Simpsons might be our key to some answers in
Do they
terms of
still have new
what's to come.
episodes?
I have no clue.
I see.
I have
Yeah,
no
I
clue.
just who
I,
got
I,
time to watch it?
neither do I. And I was never allowed to, so I
Or
never got
maybe,
into it.
yeah, or maybe they're using The Simpsons to start brainwashing people who to watch it, who watch it. You
True.
know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so like when things happen, it's like, oh yeah, this is expected. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
putting it out there. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Just,
Yeah.
and South Park is another one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
South Park,
So
and what's the other one? Boondocks.
Boond
Boondocks. Now
so
I don't think I've ever watched one full episode of either of those three shows.
mm-mm.
But now 2026, like I've heard several different people, talk about it. Several different
Yeah.
people talk about the different things that they foretold. So,
Yeah, I mean YouTube has it, and then the episode I remember was South Park is to Tesla and LaCroix.
oh, okay, okay. Tell me
Yeah.
about it.
Well, it was just like, people were obsessed with Tesla and the water. And there was one more thing I can't remember, but it's just people
I'm
are so
literally
wrapped
drinking
around.
one right now, by the way.
But it was like people were just so obsessed with this, like, this is the best, this is the best, I need to have the best. And how brainwashed, we all are, like thinking,
Hmm.
oh, everyone wanted to get a Tesla when Tesla got big, and so it's just like all these ideas and things that we don't even pay attention to. We're not, you know what I mean? And it's right here already. It's here. It's there.
Now, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
From a metaphysical perspective, like, do you think it is at all accidental that we're in this age of Aquarius, right? We've got all these AI things, coming about,
Aquarius.
all of this stuff coming about. But then on the other side, we also, maybe even equally as much, I don't know, have people that are coming out that are waking up. We're hearing a lot about that, about people being so woke, and being their authentic selves, and allowing themselves to expand and explore, and really be who they are. What are your thoughts about, that contradiction there?
Life is full of contradictions.
Isn't it though?
It's like, um, I saw one of my friends post and, condolences to him, but the irony of launching his book and, someone close to him pass away,
Mm-hmm.
and showing up still. And how many of us do that? Like the irony of life, you feel like life is falling apart, but yet you're
Mm-hmm.
showing up and
Yeah.
doing it anyways, and here we do have this force of nature, AI, but yet here's an opportunity for those who have been hiding because probably their grammar isn't the best. They can use this tool to better their grammar, to reach out or have that confidence to reach out to others,
Mm.
you know. And with social media, we can connect to so much more, so many more people, you know, and that's the thing too. It's like, you talk to so many people and it's like there's all these hate, oh, because you're this, you're that, you're this, you look like this, whatever it is. But when will it get to a point where we all can just say, we're humans, you hurt, I hurt. Like many
You
of us,
bleed, I bleed. Yeah.
yeah, many of us come from a place of pain and hurt. And so the defense is to respond as so, and so it's nothing personal to you, it's just their own their own thing. And so
Yeah.
when it comes to authenticity, it's for those who are ready, and there's waves of it. There's always a new generation of learning. And I see it with our kids. They're like not into the whole school stuff anymore,
Hmm.
depending on where you're at. And it also, but what I notice really, it has to do with their backgrounds too,
Hmm.
like who's there and what is being enforced at home. And then you go back and you look at the parents and what's going on with the parents, so
Such a
things are
huge, like,
assessed.
just a
Yeah.
shift. It's a shift, and
Yeah.
I think that there will be some that will ride the wave,
Hmm.
and some that very much won't. I think that there.
Right.
I was talking about this with another friend of mine, where we were talking about that how annoying. Oh no, this I was talking about this with my cousin, and we were talking about how some people are just so woke that they're annoying.
Are they really?
I think so. I think so.
Like, I
Yeah. I
mean, are
mean,
they really woke?
oh, well, are they? Yeah. Are they really woke? Yeah. But yeah, just so woke that they're annoying. And so I
And then
think.
what is woke? What is woke though?
I mean, it's taken on so many different,
Eh,
like, definitions
Terms.
over the
It
last
depends who
like
you
10 years.
talk to. Right. It's like like if you're talking to someone, because there's some fake woke people, there's some woke people, but you know what?
And then there's some
I,
folks that are in a coma, nowhere near awake, nowhere near awake. Yeah.
but it's like really, I think right now, gosh, you remind me it's the time of Aquarians. And so there's a lot going on here in our crown
Yeah.
chakra, in our heads. And it's important to
Yes.
ground with nature, ground and connect. Because if you're up here too much, you're going to get lost in it all. And it's all
Facts.
going to just be in your head, and nobody will be able to relate. And that's where you become unrelatable, and
That's the annoying part, is where you begin to, like, lose the essence of your humanity, and there's the authenticity is just, it's gone. It's just absolutely gone. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
And it's
sorry,
like,
I
where
cut
you,
you off. What were you gonna
no,
say?
no, 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 you're good. You're good. Yeah, cutting me off is like the worst thing because I like, oh, I gotta find myself back.
Oh, me too.
Um, but thinking of that, like I think it's really important for people to have discernment.
That's
And
very.
the most important is to know thyself,
Hmm.
because then you can create those boundaries of like, well, this doesn't feel right to me. And as long as you honor that, that's facts, and that's truth,
Yeah. And I
and
think people need to figure out what their thing is, and tap into that discernment when it comes to
mhm,
this AI issue. Like, what
mhm,
really feels right to me, what really feels good to me, and then,
mhm.
rock out, and just
Yeah.
and stand 10 toes down with whatever that is, to use it or not to use it. I think we do need to have at least a certain level of understanding about it, and a, some level of grasp of the functionality of it all. Otherwise, you're gonna get left behind. It's kind of like, I think of it like this, right? We both work in the financial space, right?
Hmm.
30 years ago, you could, and maybe not even 30 years ago. Gosh, my daughter is 20, about to be 23, right? And I remember when I got my very first life insurance policy when she was an infant, and I paid the premiums for that plan with a check. Who has checks now? Anybody walking around with
Some,
a checkbook? You're paying for it with your debit card. You know what I mean? You're paying for it with your Apple Pay. All this kind of stuff. So I
mhm,
think of it like that. It's like, and then to think of it now, for those who maybe don't have Apple Pay, or don't really want to deal with a debit card, well, now you're stuck. you're stuck now because you're still back here dealing with the check. So it's like at some point we at least have to engage it enough to at least understand it and be able to plug it in when we need to plug it in, but still rock out the way that we rock out, in the rest of our lives. But
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion about it. That I feel like we at least have to know enough so that we're not stuck and kind of left behind, so to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I feel you on that.
yeah,
I agree with yeah. And it's so much, it's like still there's a lot. There's a
it
lot
is a
going
lot.
on around us and it brings up a lot of fear
Mm-hmm.
because it's like almost like we're losing control. And then the question is, did we even have control in the
Didn't
first
even have
place?
control. Yeah.
Like with propaganda that's been around for how long, you
Yes.
know, with with like back in the day they would just threaten you.
Mm-hmm.
Here we're protected. They can't just like slaughter us. But at the same time, can they? Because you look at, what's been going on, and it's like it's it's a lot. There's a
It
lot
is
of
a lot.
shifts, there's a lot of changes. There's, you know, like we just got through in 2025, the year of the snake. We're still a bit in it, and that whole unraveling. And what does it mean to be woke? You know, is it that
Yeah.
you're in your own head? Like with AI, are you letting it take over and consume you and take place of you?
Mm.
Or do you still have your essence of who you actually
Of who
are?
you are.
Are you
Yeah.
able to speak for yourself?
What do
Are
you think
you
it's going to do in the space of teaching?
teaching? I feel,
What's going to happen there?
it can teach us a lot, but I still feel like that's a good question.
Like,
You
if you
know,
had to guess, like 20 years from now, like, will your profession be obsolete?
well, you see, I look at myself as priceless, and I teach the kids more than just what is on books and papers. So,
That's the same
so
thing. That's the same way I feel about me. Yeah.
I think there's something important that we miss with energy when we just sit with someone else,
Yes.
when we can exchange a whole story just by sitting next to someone without a word,
Mm-hmm.
and just be. And I think that's the thing. There's so much immediate gratification that people don't know how to slow down enough and regulate in their own body.
To just be.
And to just be. And if you ask ChatGPT, they probably won't be able to tell you unless you actually direct it to tell you, like, hey, what can I use? It may say, who knows what it would tell you to do,
Yeah.
but is that actual facts? And you need to know what to ask it. You need to know how to um have it. You need to create it.
Mm-hmm.
Like how you were saying earlier with the lady who's like, so it doesn't just tell
Yeah.
you whatever you want to hear, but you got to program it,
Yeah.
right? And I go, you AI can help a lot in certain
Mm-hmm.
things. I mean, if you wanted to teach you all the information, but is it actual information?
Yeah.
You know, it won't be able to teach you how to think. And you brought up a movie, and the movie I'm going to bring up is Idiocracy.
Okay.
Have you heard of that movie,
No, I don't think
Idiocracy?
so. I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my neighbor, he would give this movie out, come to find out, because I went to return it last week or
Mm-hmm.
the other day, and his wife was like, no, 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 keep it. He buys a whole bunch of these to give it out to people. Granted, I don't even own a DVD anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
the movie, what happened, this is like 100 years later, 200 years later for today, and these people are idiots. They got all these systems that are automatic, but they don't have common sense. Like they're using Gatorade to farm the farmland, expecting something to grow, and they're like, nothing's growing, nothing's growing. And then it
Wow.
and like this guy and this other lady were put in a time machine, time vessel or whatever, and they were supposed to be woken up a year later. Well, it was like like couple hundred years later. And they
Hmm.
came out and all these things, and everything was different. People were just couldn't talk right, and they were making fun of him, and he was talking proper. They're like, "You're the idiot," and and it's just
Oh,
kind of like, like they don't know how to think for them. And for me, I took it as like they forgot how to think,
mm,
and so like AI can come in, it can give you all the information, but if you can't have discernment and know how to use the information that is given to you, what's the point of it?
that's the point. Yeah.
And so yeah, I can take my role to teach, but I can teach something that AI can't give them.
And
Nurture, yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I feel the same exact way about coaching or anything that, kind of falls underneath that mental health umbrella,
Mhm.
where yeah, you might be able to program a chat GPT or whatever to be able to, give you a halfway decent response to something, but there's nothing that's going to be able to take away, to your point, that human connection. Just knowing that it is I believe will alter a person's responses. You're going to talk to an AI in a completely different way than you're going to talk to a human, because your energy is going to recognize the difference, and so even your response to a human is going to be different,
Yeah,
which is then going to give you a different response, a different output, right?
right. It's
Yeah.
it's like you won't even be human because it's like it's a thing versus when you handle like a baby, for example.
Hmm.
You know that it needs you to nurture and care for it, but
Exactly.
when you kind of lose that, you become desensitized, and then are you even acknowledging your own feelings of what's going
Hmm.
through? So there's a lot of questions, but
It is, and
we're
I
all,
I think
yeah.
that some of these new I've seen like on job platforms and things like that where they're hiring people, and I think this is just like the most coolest but oddest thing ever to get paid for, where people are literally being hired to be a friend, like you're being hired to be a listener. And I think that really what's
Hmm.
happening is that they're hiring these people. I'm glad that we're recording this because I'm gonna listen back to this in 5 years and see if I was right. I think that they're that they're hiring these people to have these, conversations. It has to be recorded for legal reasons, right? I think that they're using it to program AI to be able to try to filter out therapists and mental health, professionals, which would be absolutely insane to me because it'd be programmed by a person who is not a mental health professional. So it's like,
Well,
you
they're
know,
trying to, yeah, that's a whole other thing, right? With the mental professionals, what's considered professionals. But excuse me, to bring it, there was another movie that I watched,
mhm,
and the ending was so unexpected.
okay.
And you're watching this movie, and then it gets to a point in the movie where you're like, what the hell's going on?
Mhm.
And then I'm noticing, oh, wait, the number on this woman's shirt keeps going up. And then it shows you like the whole thing, but then it's like keeps repeating, repeating. And it was pretty much about generating an AI to replace a woman. And she goes, well, in order to do so, you put them through a process, right? And
Mhm.
for it to have feelings of a mother, keep putting them through the same thing over and over to save this child was what she was doing. And
Wow.
I'm like watching like what the hell? What the hell? And at the end, it was like and the guy even asked, well, what if what happens after the mother, saves the child? Like
Mhm.
the mother will never do that. Like they're creating situations where the mother will never save the child. So, as a mother,
Ugh,
my emotions and feelings were like,
just
what
all
is
over the
going on?
place.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like, almost there. And I'm like, and I'm like
It's
going
a
through this,
baby.
like, what's going on with this? Yeah, the baby's like 4. I'm gonna find out. Okay, I'm not even gonna say what movie this is, but if you watch it, you'll know.
Okay.
The baby ended up being an AI. So they were creating the mother AI. And so the
And
whole time, I guess,
simultaneously,
yeah, so I guess at the point there was the mother who was actually in the programming, she was actually killed. And they were able to reformat her and her come back to life in her what she used to look like, but with her mindset in a sense. But what about the soul, right?
hello.
The
Yeah.
soul
Yeah.
level,
What about the
so
soul? Yeah.
like so I'm just curious, like, is there this discernment, is there this understanding of, like, I don't know, I mean, there's those dolls that look like women that men call them their they're significant,
Well,
and
and
probably
what about the sympathy dolls? I forget what the appropriate title is, but it's like and it's they look so real. It's like creepy. But it's like it's a baby, and I guess it's for maybe moms who, have lost the child, to try to help them with the process of like grieving the baby and things like that.
oh,
Great in concept, but it does make me wonder from a mental health perspective, like what are we doing to the psyche? And then also from a mental health perspective, I'm wondering like what has to be going on there for you to
mm,
become attached and to this
oh.
basic programmed piece of plastic that has no soul. Like
Well, it may be silicone, it may be some other kind of like
it might be
synthetic
silicone.
skin, it may be some
If
synthetic skin,
it's synthetic skin, I'm really gonna run. But it I guess my overall point is like all of this is really cool. I think it's nice from a human side to observe it all.
Mhm.
The activation of it scares the crap out of me. Like it's a little creepy. So, some of it is a little creepy because I almost feel like we as humans almost like we've like become too smart that we can create something that is at that level that just I don't
Yeah,
know.
but I mean, are we too smart? We still haven't rebuilt the pyramid. You know what I mean? And
True,
understand,
true.
how
But they
there's
may have somewhere. Who knows? Like I guarantee you, in 5 years there'll be some movie that'll be
that should
like,
have
"Oh,
been
in some
10 years.
faraway land, we actually rebuilt the pyramid 20 years ago. We're just telling you
Well,
guys."
there's so many things, like how Antarctica underneath it is green, so there's
Hmm.
so many things that we don't even know. And they're like, no, it's theory. Is it? Is it really? Now documentation's coming out. There's so many things we don't know, but one thing I do know, and I know this, I feel like this episode just stirs up more questions, and that's
It
okay.
does.
And it's
It
like,
does. I
it's
like to
safe
just
to be there.
observe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. And to be able to sit with it and just be like, yeah, because this is part of the human experience, is to
Mm.
acknowledge our feelings, understand what's going on, and be able to sit with it. Because you know what? We're fucking alive you
Yeah.
know but I like, there's something about the indigenous ways, where it was community, and we helped each other, and that is so missing in today's
Yeah.
world, where it's like everyone is like trying to up one to be better, or you got to keep up with the Joneses. And it's like, really,
Yeah.
what are you keeping up with? It's going to break in like 6 months anyways, or there's going to be another brand. I'm still at my iPhone 12. They got iPhone 20, ready to come out soon.
Right.
It's like, how much more can you do with the phone? Because you know what? I got a computer. I'm going to type it. Am I going to be able to, like, the whole thing, how they were like, oh, we're gonna put a
Oh, the
little, what you
chips
call
in
it,
your
chips
brain
in you.
and
I go, I don't
yeah.
want a chip in my brain.
Yeah.
And I go, then you're gonna hear all the bad thoughts I've been thinking.
Yeah. No thanks.
You
No
know,
thanks.
but you know what I mean? So it's just like, back to that indigenous ways, or our ancestors, there's connection. It was, you work and you do things, you build that skill, you're strengthening your body and not just sitting still.
Yeah.
And something about that idiocracy too, they're all out of shape, they all look nasty, they all look dirty.
Really? Well, and I think what you're kind of hitting on there too is that there is some beauty in simplicity.
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah.
just some beauty in simplicity. My kids, they get on me all the time because I really do. I just like things to be simple. And it's not to say that I'm not open to other things and exploring
Mhm.
other things, but just me in my quiet space and when I'm within myself, I just want things to be simple. I just
Yeah.
want things to be simple. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, think about it. Like, when was the last time you sit against a tree and just rested and relaxed? And how therapeutic is that? Like, think of the medicine that goes through your body just by
Mhm.
sitting against a tree, leaning, on it, and just being. A lot of us don't even know how to do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's causes, I don't want to say it causes stress, but it's causes discomfort because you're not used to even relaxing. It's like we have to keep doing something.
Yeah. And I
So,
think that that's if there was a fear for me, which I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as that, but it would be that we get away from that, of getting away from the simplicity of real life, and not just touching a tree, sitting underneath a tree in some AI generated
oh,
reality. You know what I mean?
right.
But like
But
even
actually go out and do it
actually
yourself and
sit on,
experience it.
yes, like and
Yeah.
actually a real tree, not some genetically modified tree, something
Like the
that,
grass, this genetically look-alike
yeah,
grass.
like no, like the actual like process of a tree becoming an actual tree, and you as a real human sitting under that actual tree. That is what, if I were to have a fear about it, it would be that, is that as a society we will have expanded so much and have created so much that we get away from that kind of stuff. And so I'm grateful for
Mhm.
people like you and myself and so many other, of our sisters, that is important to us. And I do believe that that becomes the value that we will continuously be able to bring to the collective, because those will be the things that will be bringing people back to, having people to
Yeah.
remember the good old days. Can you imagine, like, at some point, you and I will be grandmothers and we'll be saying, remember the good old days? Remember the good old days when
Oh,
paper was, when
well,
books were
there is no
printed on
talk of me
paper,
being
and
a grandma right now.
it better not be. Your kids are way too
They're
young.
still
Shoot,
little.
with mine are a little older than yours, and there better not be any
Yeah.
talk of me being a grandmother either.
But no, yeah,
Yes,
what you're saying is true. And you know what? There are places that are still like that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But there is, I think, like, living in like Temecula, like the inner places, cities, San
San
Diego,
Diego,
New
yeah,
York, those big city
Arizona
areas
is,
is becoming, yeah, like, but then there's some places in Arizona where it's really slow and people go to the river on a hot day and see the wild horses, and that is so majestic. So we're seeing it, but then there are those that still live the old ways where the kids still play, and there's places where it's a lot slower because they'd be like, what's Filipino?
hmm
What, what, where's Bali? What's
hmm
Bali?
hmm
And so there are places like that. There are, but then we see this whole other side of things. And so it's like we're seeing all these different scenarios, or there's this whole awareness of all these different things that are going on and happening. And it's just, for me, it does bring up a lot more questions versus answers. And I don't
hmm
think there's no answer except to discern and go within and do what feels right for yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
and to
how do
have
you
some
want to?
balance, to have some balance around it, I think too.
Yeah.
That would be what I would tell a client. That would be what I would tell my children, is like, Yeah, if you're going to delve in that realm, you know,
Hmm.
yeah, rock out, but also have some balance too. Like go
Hmm.
and do some AI stuff and then go sit under that tree. You know what I mean? Just be able to have that balance and to where we don't like lose who we really are. And
Yeah.
I think that is the kind of the meat of this whole conversation really is that yeah, there's an appreciation for it. It's really cool to look at. It's nice to know that we as a human race have been able to elevate our intellect to the spaces where we can create all of this cool stuff. But we also got to
Hmm.
make sure that we stay grounded as well as human
Hmm.
beings and not lose the essence of who we really are. Yeah.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
share.
That's right. Well, sis, this has been a great conversation. Like, I don't really get to, outside of arguing about it with with my daughter, I don't really get to like have these conversations very often. But
Hmm.
it's always cool just chopping it up with you. And I know we don't know what our next episode is gonna be, but we know that it's gonna be something juicy and trip.
Juicy.
It's gonna be something juicy
Yeah,
and trip.
it's
Yeah.
juicy and true. And even, and next time, I mean, I wasn't really 100% prepared with this conversation either, but it's just
Neither
at
was I. It
least
was very organic.
yeah.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, very organic, not really knowing the verbiage and, things called.
Same.
So, forgive my ignorance, but, at least there's a bit of understanding. And if there's anyone who knows a lot more about, this AI stuff and, solutions and, share
The
what's your
laws, the ethics
opinions? Yeah.
behind it. That's really
Yeah,
what I'm
whatever
interested in.
ideas and opinions you have, share. Please share
Yeah.
below.
Put it
I
down
would
in the comments.
love to read and
Me too.
nerd out on it and then probably have another conversation following up and maybe
Absolutely.
bring in a third person, fourth person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sis, tell the
So,
people where they can find you on other platforms.
so you could find me on Sacred Her on Spotify and also on YouTube, Sacred Her. And then you can find my email at www. Jennifer Natasia as my name. Wait, right there. My name over there on this side.
You had it right. You had it right.
Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
.com, and you can feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. And we'll also make sure to put everything in the comments. Of course, you guys know you can reach me on all platforms at Still Whole Wellness, online, stillwholewellness.com. This has just been a really good conversation. I like
Mm.
taking this kinds of, I like that we record on Sundays because then I get to kind of take this conversation into the rest of the week and maybe even I'm curious to ask some of my clients this week what their thoughts are on this. So I guess that's going to be it for today. And until
Yeah.
next week, and you guys just be well and in perfect peace. We love you on purpose. There's nothing you can do about it. Stay curious. Peace and blessings.